All right, guys, thank you for joining me tonight. Do me a favor before we start. Let me know how I sound. How do I sound? Is there any clicking or staticky sound? And if not, we'll get started. But again, I do appreciate you guys following me tonight or watching me tonight, especially being a Sunday night. But 5 by 5. Thank you, Lisa, Mouse in the House, and Jean. Appreciate it. And Vision. Thanks. So, guys, I you guys pretty much know what this story is. It was my day down at the Trade Center. So for the most part, I've always avoided telling the story, or not so much avoided it, just I don't know, just didn't really need to talk about it. With that being said, I guess the rally this week that I went to for the dropping of the mandates, and then sitting here today, in the house because I didn't go out. At least I didn't go downtown. And sitting here and looking at the 9/11 memorial readings, I'm like, all right, maybe I should talk about it because I'm going to get to something at the end and hopefully it all comes together, right? So, anyway, with that being said, 9/11, actually, it started the morning of, and I'm talking about the wee hours of the morning. We're talking about 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And just follow the timeline. I'm going to try to follow the timeline as best as I can without jumping around. So anyway, I was an EMS that year, so I was an EMT, right, an emergency medical technician. I was a guy that jumped out of the ambulance and helped people who were hurt, shot, sick, whatever it was. So that day, I was working a night tour, and I normally work the night tour. I work the 10 to 6, right, 10 at night to 6 the next morning. So anyway, we're working the shift, my partner and I. If I'm not mistaken, I worked with two partners that night tour. I forgot what happened to my first partner, but my second partner, who was my normal partner, we wind up working together. And there was a couple of weird things that went on that night before the actual towers went down. Um, and each call we got, which were wind up being 5 calls at night, 6 calls at night, and we're normally busier. So it was a slow night, if you will. Anyway, first call was an Arabic dude who had stomach pains. Now, up until that was my third year being an EMT. Actually, sorry, that was my first full year into my second year being an EMT. And the first call was an Arabic dude that had stomach pain, and it was weird because there was so many um, Middle Eastern dudes attending to this one guy in an apartment on 145th and Lenox, Adam Clayton Powell. So 145th and Adam Clayton Powell. The building was on the uh, southwest corner. Anyway, we go in there, and it's just a long, giant apartment with rooms. So we go down in the room, and there's a guy in the back. He's complaining of stomach pain. So we pick him up. We put him in the ambulance. We get downstairs, and there's like, I don't know, 6 or 7 Muslim dudes. Anyway, with that, I will answer questions later. So, with that, guys, we put him in the ambulance. But so, a couple of weird things happened in the interaction with those dudes. We were like, the fuck is this? So, whatever. We don't think anything of it. Second call, right after we dropped this guy off at the hospital, is another guy with stomach pains, complaining of stomach pains. Another Middle Eastern man. And my partner now, who's been on a job for years prior to that, was like, this is weird. I've never picked these dudes up, let alone two in one night. And I go, really? He goes, yeah. He says they normally go to the hospital on their own. They don't normally complain of shit, unless they're hurt or beat up because they got no fight with somebody in the store. Anyway, we take that guy to the hospital. So he was just saying how weird it was. So interestingly enough, at some point I switched from my old partner back to my old partner. Um, and we get a call of a Holocaust survivor who fell out of his bed. I thought that was an interesting call. So this guy, the Holocaust survivor, he was actually being documented for PBS. This is 20 years ago. And the lady who was documenting him wind up meeting us at the apartment, letting us in, and this guy was on the floor. So with that, we we take him to whatever hospital he wants to go to. Now, normally you're supposed to take the patient to the closest hospital, but being that he was a Holocaust survivor, I said this guy can go to whatever hospital he wants to go to. If that's in Pennsylvania or Jersey within legal, what you call it, parameters, we're taking him. So he wound up going down to Beth Israel, which is down, not Beth Israel. Was it Beth Israel? I think it was Beth Israel downtown. So we took him all the way downtown from 110th Street between Broadway and Amsterdam. So anyway, we get him on the rig. So that wound up being a late call. That call came in around 5:30, almost 6 o'clock, and we wind up coming back here, back to Harlem. Sorry, where we were based out of, which is Harlem Hospital. We get back to Harlem Hospital, and it's now around 7:30. Anyway, so at the time, the ex-wife and I, we were fighting, not getting along, and I call her up and I said, "Listen, I'm gonna go pick up my son, who's my 23-year-old now. Go pick up my son, and I'm gonna take him to the movies. We're gonna hang out and do all kinds of shit." All right. So now, at the time, guys, this is when I was in my fittest, if you will. I was riding a bike. I used to be a messenger before I was an EMT, so I still had a bicycle. So anyway, I get down to 28th Street. I go pick up my son, and as I get to 28th Street, I get off at um, the one train, the two train. Sorry, so I took the two to the one, and I get off at the one train on 28th Street, and now I have to go east a few blocks. So as I'm going east, I don't notice anything. I get to the building that my ex-wife lived in. I go upstairs. As soon as I go upstairs, no, as soon as I go upstairs to pick up my son, we start heading back. So we head back west, and we're about to get back on the one train. With that, I hear people murmuring and people looking down the street, and everyone's looking down the street on the first block I come to, which was Park Ave. And I remember looking down and seeing smoke trailing over the city, and I go, "Man, that's a big ass fire." That's all I'm thinking at the time. So I'm like, "No, I'm not starting over, Polar Patriot." So I look down the block and I see all these people, and I just see the smoke. So then I'm like, "Oh, that's a big ass fire." So I walk the next block, which was, I think, Madison. I forgot which it was. Park, maybe it was Madison. No, Madison, Park, and I think it was Fifth Ave. So I still don't see anything. So then I start walking a little faster. Then I get to 7th Avenue. Now I hear people saying, "Oh, a small plane hit the building." I'm like, "Holy shit!" All right, um, this is interesting. That's all I'm thinking. This is interesting. And then I go another block, and now I'm on 6th Avenue. And I'm looking down the block, and I can see both towers. And I can see the one tower on fire, smoke coming out of it. And I'm looking down, and I'm like, "Holy shit, this is a big to do. This is a big to do." So, with that, I see another plane passing the building, but it does not dawn on me that that plane hit the building. Then I see the second explosion, and I'm like, "Holy shit, what the fuck?" So now I have my son on the bike. I jump back on the bike. I take him back to the babysitter. Couple of interesting things happen along the line. So I get down back to the building he lives in, which is on 28th Street. We take the elevator up. I drop him off at the babysitter. The babysitter opens the door without missing a beat and says, "You're going down?" And I go, "Yes." She takes him, and then she's standing by the door waiting for the elevator to come, and the elevator never came. The elevators broke down. So now I had to run down 18 flights, no, 19 flights with a bike on my shoulder. So anyway, I get all the way down the stairs, and I start to do heavy breathing to catch myself from hyperventilating because of what's going on. Now you hear the fire trucks. Now you hear the cop cars. You hear people now talking more. Oh my God, and running back and forth in the streets. This is now I'm between 2nd Ave and 3rd Ave on 28th Street. So now you hear all the fire trucks, every last emergency vehicles flying down there. So now I remember telling myself, should I go back to Harlem Hospital where I'm based out of, or should I go directly down there? And I'm like, "Fuck it, I'm going in." And I told myself I'm going in because I'm like, well, maybe I can meet up with my father, who was a Port Authority cop at the time. My father also responded to the '93 bombing. So I jump on a bike, and I fucking, the hardest I've ever pedaled in my entire life. I'm fucking flying down the streets, and I'm dipping in and between cars. And I remember an ESU truck almost hit me, and I moved, I swerve out of the way, and he's cursing at me, "Get the fuck out of the way!" He doesn't know where I'm going. So now I'm pedaling, and then I see a couple fire trucks, and I move over. I'm like, I don't want to get crushed by a fire truck before I get down there. So then a station wagon almost hit me, and I remember another cop car almost hit me. He was flying past, I think it was like 14th Street, and he was going to go the long way and then cut down, I guess, Broadway or whatever. So anyway, he misses me. So I keep pedaling. I get down in the village, and this, guys, I'm gonna tell you right now, I couldn't hop on or off a curb with my bike to save my life. And here I am. I'm hopping off. I'm like a BMX expert. I'm like, oh shit, fucking almost doing wheelies and shit, just fucking getting through everything. So then a cop jumps on my way because now they blocked traffic off pretty early. I forgot, it was by One Police Plaza. So they cut traffic off by One Police Plaza, and I remember saying, I'm yelling at the guy, EMS, 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 and he's like, and he jumps out of the way, and then I keep going. I didn't even slow down. I didn't even touch the brakes. So now I'm riding, and I go. For those of you that know Manhattan, you know the One Police Plaza. You go under that bridge conjunction that leads to the Brooklyn Bridge. I go under that, and I come out on the other side, and it was like a fucking nightmare took over at that point. Then it was like, holy shit, this is real. This is fucking happening. Now, let me pause right here. In EMS, when I went through the training the year before that, we always talked about something called MCI, right? Mass Casual Incident. And this is where you had an absorbent amount of bodies, an absorbent amount of rescue workers and victims. And I remember joking the year before that, the mother of all MCIs, and how we were going to react to it and what we were going to do. And, again, it was just like that. An MCI to an EMT was like a fire to a fireman. All right. So hopefully that put it in some perspective. So when I finally saw it, I was like, holy shit, this is it. This is game time. This is fucking, you're either you're going to fucking show and prove or you're going to fucking fall flat on your face. So as I get there, now it's fucking quiet. You can't hear the people talking. It was almost as the people were muted because they were all still and they were all staring at the towers. Every last person in the street. And there were maybe the 20th, third person was not paying attention and jumping on their phone and making a call and walking away, just to let people know what was going on. So everybody's focused on that. I'm now focused back on trying to get as close as I can to the building as I can. So now I yelled at a couple more cops, I'm EMS, and then they let me through. Anyway, with that, as I get to closer to the building, now I'm on Reed Street, right? So anyway, not Reed Street, sorry, it's further down. Fulton. I'm on Fulton Street. So I get to Fulton Street, and I'm like, now I'm looking for a place to lock my bike up, right? So keep in mind, I used to ride my bike to work or take the train, but that day I was tired, so I rode the train back home to 28th Street, or where my ex-wife lived. Anyway, I locked my bike up. Jay, no, I wasn't in uniform. I was in street clothes. That's why I was fucking yelling at everybody. I'm an EMT. So anyway, I get off the bike. I start looking around for somebody of authority in EMS, because fire, they were like all going in the building. PD I don't report to, so I'm looking for an EMT. So then I find a fireman. His name is Firefighter Anderson. All right, so this firefighter, he's one of the guys that was in charge of a group called the Explorers, not Explorers. What the fuck were we? Cadets, fire cadets, right? So we were part of the fire cadet program. That was a program to get more minorities on the job to fire. But before we got to fire, we had to do EMS. So that was the little trickery they pulled on us to get us into EMS. Anyway, I run into Firefighter Anderson. I said, what the fuck, man? He's like, two planes hit the building. He goes, we think this is a terror attack. He says, but that's it. That's all we know. He's like, what are you going to do? I'm like, I'm looking for somebody from EMS. He's like, here. He gives me a bunker jacket so I can easily be identified. And I have my ID in my back pocket anyway. So with that, he breaks off and he goes off somewhere else. He survived, by the way. And I go looking for an EMS lieutenant. So now I get to Church Street on Fulton. So I get to Fulton and Church. That's right in front of Tower 2 Tower 1, and then Tower 2 was to my left. So now I'm standing in front of the Millennium Hotel. So the Millennium Hotel now is where they have a triage area, and people who are hurt are coming over there. I run into an EMT lieutenant. Her name is Amy something. I can't remember her last name. She's got to be retired now. And with that, guys, we start triaging people. So now she's asking me to go look for more equipment. So now I go looking for more equipment. So I remember when I walked over to her, I'm like, my name is Jason Charles. I'm an EMT out of Harlem Hospital. She's like, and she looks behind herself. She goes, thank God. She goes, I have volleys here, and now you're here. I said, all right, what do you need me to do? She goes, look for more equipment. So I go look for more equipment. So as I'm going to look for more equipment, I run into a scuffle, if you will, with a Port Authority cop who was being a dick. I tell him I'm an EMT. He's like, you're not getting past me. He says, it's off limits. I'm like, I just came from over here. He's like, you're not getting past me. I'm like, and I was gonna tell him something bad, and I'm like, I said, you know what? I'm not gonna fight with this dick. So I go back to a car. I break into a ambulance that was locked up. I get it open. I get some supplies out, and I go back down the block to let this guy know I'm going over here. He was gone. All right. I found out that that dick face he lived as well. So anyway, I go back to her. I had a couple supplies. She goes, all right, start triaging people. I go, all right. With that, with that, guys, I get to we start talking real quick as what she wants me to do, and I see this lady's big girl, big bitch, comes out of the building. She's wearing like this flower dress. She comes out of the building, and we make eye contact, and she passes out. And I go, oh God, no, really? You know, I'm like, this is gonna be fucking heavy to lift off the ground. It's big bitch. With that being said, guys, I start to I go over there. I go over there to help the other EMT, who's a volley from Long Island, to help her get off the ground. So me, the lieutenant, and this volley go to help this lady off the ground. With that, guys, as I go to help this lady off the ground, I'm pulling on this lady. I'm like, come on, lady, let's go. I said, all right, I'll get her upper body. You ladies get each of her legs. Again, big bitch. Um, as I go to grab her and I go like this, I hear something go snap, boom. And I'm like, no. I automatically knew what it was. I'm like, motherfucker. And everybody's head, because I'm looking at the crowd, everybody's head snapped to attention and they're staring at the building. And I'm like, shit. And I just knew what it was. And then the sound, the unforgettable sound of the freight train. It sounded like a freight train fucking just tumbling down the tracks. So with that, everybody who's looking, they all take off and run. And I'm like, oh shit, this is real. And so now I start fucking Richard, I'll explain to that later why she was a bitch. I'll explain to that later. Just ask that question again. So anyway, with that, I start tugging on the lady. I'm like, lady, yo, we gotta fucking go. Let's go, let's go. And she's fucking like, she's playing a game. It's a game that I'm gonna explain later what people play. So I fucking take off. She doesn't move. I take off. I take 3 steps. I go, fuck. I turn around. And keep in mind, guys, this is happening like this. It's happening fucking fast. So I turn around to go and get her, and she's fucking gone. She's out. And I'm like, where the fuck is she? And I look, and she's running up the block like a linebacker. Dude, I've never seen a fat person run so fast. She was fucking outie. She was, I was like, and then I start to run. So now as I start to run, something happens. I look, and I see the building fucking coming down. I remember thinking to myself, I have to look at this. If I'm gonna die, I have to look at this. And I look up and I see the fucking top part of the building coming down like this. Now, I thought it was gonna hit us. When I look at the video later at home, it tilted and then it dropped straight down. All right. But so I said, oh shit, and I start to run. As I start to run, I see 3 firemen, or 4 firemen, sorry, running up the block. And I see the look of terror in their face. I've never in 1,000 years seen a look of terror until that very moment. And in that very moment, I was scared for them. I was like, oh shit. And then I'm staring at them, and then a dust cloud lands on them. And it was a fucking clanging sound. And then that was it. They were gone. And a piece of metal flew over my head, and it snapped me out of the trance. And I turn around, and I go fucking, I continue running. Keep in mind, this is happening very, very fast. But if any of you know about like adrenaline and trauma, shit slows down when you're in a bad situation. This is what it was like. So as I'm running, I'm fucking, I'm trying my best, man, to keep up with everybody else. My legs were destroyed from the bike ride there, and I felt it as I was trying to run. And now I'm running, and a guy falls in front of me, and I jump over him. I go to turn around to get him, and two dudes behind me scoop this dude up like a football, and they fucking all run. So now we're all running down the block, and people screaming, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm not gonna scream. I'm not gonna go out like a bitch. I'm running, and I'm like, I'm running with everybody else, and we get to the corner of Fulton and Broadway. And as we get to the corner of Fulton and Broadway, I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, yeah, we made it. I'm ready to give people high fives because we made the building collapse. And then I look down the block and I'm like, fuck. And I yell, run. And then the dust, boom, shot past us, started coming up the block. And I'm like, and I look at the store. Now, keep this in mind, guys. When I was deciding which way I was going to run, I remember thinking to myself, not to Chase Bank because they're not going to let me in because I had dreads and I'm black. And it was a fucked up way of thinking, but that's how I thought at the moment. And I said, the fucking Audubon Payne, if I'm saying that right? Deli, I don't know if it's still around, but I look at that, I'm like, over there. So I start running over there and I yell at everybody else behind me, over here. And so we start running over to the Audubon Payne. And I get to the door and I look over my shoulder and I'm like, hold your breath. And I'm like this. And it was like somebody fucking threw sand at us. So, freedom seats. We'll get to that in a little bit. So, with that, guys, that I thought it was going to be hot for some reason, maybe because of the fire or whatever, but it was cold as fuck. And I was like, shit. So now, as it hits, we're all holding our breath. People are grabbing onto my bunker jacket. The guy in the fucking store sees us outside. And I'm like, is this motherfucker going to come out for us or are we going to stay here and die? And then he unlocks the door and he lets us in. All right. So we get in and I turn around, guys, and I look at the glass. And out of some shit, like a zombie movie, it was fucking wild. The glass is now fucking just completely black. And you can see the plume. You can see the plume hitting the glass. And I'm like, holy shit. And then so I see somebody walking along the glass like a zombie because they can't see. They're holding their breath and they're walking like this and they're rubbing against the glass. So you can see their a silhouette of them rubbing against the glass. So I run to the door. It's locked again. I'm like, open the door. I'm like, why the fuck would you lock it? The guy's stumbling with the keys and shit. I shouldn't have yelled at him. And he's stumbling. He gets the door open and I open the door and I yell for the dude to come back. And I don't know if it was a dude or chick, but I yell and my voice bounced back off the dust. Crazy shit. That spooked the shit out of me. Because I'm like, we're outside, but me yelling into this thick dust, my voice bounced back off it like if I was in a room. All right. So, with that, now we're inside. We're getting water. I'm trying to wash this shit out of my mouth. It wouldn't fucking come out. It was sort of like the cinnamon challenge. If any of you did it, don't do the cinnamon challenge. But it was something like that. I couldn't get this crap out of my mouth. So after I did, the Audubon Payne, if I'm saying it right, goes into the building. So I was in an office building, and the Audubon Payne went straight through to the office building. So I go to the office building. I go to the back, and there are fucking 100 something people standing in the lobby, not knowing what to do. And they're like, someone goes, oh, what do we do now? And I look at them, I'm like, what the fuck are you asking me for? But then I realized I got a fucking fireman jacket on. So I told them I'm an EMT. I said, stay in here until the dust settles. And then when it settles, make your way over to the South Street Seaport. Do not go west, go east to the South Street Seaport, or make your way north. So people were like, oh, okay, all right. What should we do after that? I'm like, go home. I don't know what to tell you, but don't stay here. So anyway, with that, now I start searching the building because now I had my sneakers on and they weren't going to work. I start searching the building to the lower levels. I don't know why the fuck I went down on the lower levels. I can't even remember why I was down there. But I go down to the lower levels and I'm telling people, yo, you guys should get the hell out of here. And they're like, all right, all right, man. Okay. So I found a pair of boots and I'm like, yo, whose boots are these? And the guy goes, they're yours now, man. So I put the boots on and they fit. I have a size 12 and a half, 13 foot, and it actually fit. So anyway, with that, guys, I remember now I go back upstairs and the lobby's still full. And I'm like, all right, guys, it looks like it's settling. Start making your way out. So everybody starts making their way out. So I go back outside, start looking for survivors. It didn't dawn on me to look under cars. I found out later that there were people who actually died underneath the cars. They suffocated on the dust and they just didn't know where to go after that. So a couple of people wound up dying from underneath the cars. Not many. All right. So it doesn't dawn on me. I start looking through it, and now I'm like, I start making my way through all the shit, all the paper that's flying in the air. It's insane. So before the buildings go down, right before the buildings go down, I'm hearing this sound, and this sound is like a. I'm like, what are the firemen doing? What is taking them so long to break into that door? I keep hearing a bang, bang, and I'm like, what the hell are they hitting? And somebody else is like, yo, I don't know, man. Um, I'm like, I don't know what the hell they're hitting. I'm like, but they're taking forever to break that door open. And I'm like, yeah, it's taking them fucking forever. So then I keep hearing it, bang. And it comes to find out that that sound were people jumping out of the building and hitting this overhang that was part of the Trade Center. If you guys can pull up pictures, you can see this overhang. Anyway, they're hitting that. They're hitting the ground as well. And it just, the sound that they were making, it didn't dawn on me. What craziest shit is I'm watching them fall out of the sky and I'm like, I'm thinking it's like debris. It was people. All right. So with that, guys, the first tower's down. I'm looking over and I can see through the fog, if you will, the dust. The shadow of the building's gone. And I'm like, holy shit. So tower 1 is still standing. So I remember looking at that and going, fuck it. I'm going to go in and look for my father and look for survivors. So I run into an ESU truck and I go up to these guys. I'm like, guys, I'm an EMT, not a fireman. I work in Harlem Hospital. Do you guys have an extra SCBA that I can use to go in? And they're like, the guy runs back in, the cop runs back in. He's fiddling around. He goes, nah, we're all out, man. He goes, but there's another truck company up the block. Go up there and see if they have a spare. I go, okay. So, dude, guys, I was ready to walk in and help them look. Those guys wind up dying, by the way. So, as I go in, as I'm about to go in, I run into these two girls from England. They were in the first tower. They were above the crash site. They made it down to a spare staircase that most people didn't know about. So I walked them back over to the building that I was in with the other people, and I tell them, go to the South Street Seaport or go towards Canal Street. And they go, okay. So I go back into the building, and I tell people, guys, listen, when I go back into the lobby, there's no one in there. There's like a few people. I said, guys, for those of you that are left, you need to get out of the building. The tower's going to come down. The second one's going to come down. And they're like, when? I said, I don't know. I just know it's going to come down. I said, I don't know if it's going to be now or 5 hours from now, but it's coming down. So a couple people in the lobby like, all right. So we start making our way out. And again, guys, I hear something go boom. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? And I remember looking and the ground shaking now. It's not shaking, it's vibrating. So with that, I'm like, oh shit. So a bunch of us, we start running to the back of the building to the loading dock area. We get to the loading dock area, and I remember saying, oh shit, we're not gonna fucking make it. And I look, and there's a captain, police officer standing in the middle of the street. I'm like, yo, Cap, get the fuck. And before I can say get the fuck back, dust just overcomes him. He doesn't die. He's still alive, but he was lost in the dust. Anyway, he gets swallowed up. The rest of us on the loading dock, we step back, and the gates, if you will, are closing, and closing slow. I'm gonna tell you right now, I've never seen a gate close this fucking slow in my entire life, and not because we were in a shitty situation. It legitimately closed slow. And we jumped on the gate and we were trying to fucking force it down faster. And there was 15 of us on this gate and it wouldn't budge. So with that, guys, dust comes into the loading dock. Now we're all scrambling out. Now I remember now being in the lobby. Now the lobby's full of dust. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm going to fucking pass out because I couldn't breathe anymore. And I remember something my father told me. Elevator shafts. He says, stronger part of the building. He says, you're also going to get air out of there. So I put my face up against the elevator, the crack of the elevator, and I start breathing the air from there. So my fucking face is in there. I'm like breathing what fresh air I can get out of the elevator shaft, if you will. And the lady turns around and gives me a rag. So she gives me the rag. I put it over my face, and then that's it. That was that. So, rest of the day, guys. Now I'm running around looking to help people, and there was no one to help. After the second tower came down, that was pretty much it. It was pretty fucking quiet. Um, and I remember thinking, this dust is bad. This is bad shit we're breathing in. But this is what I signed up for, right? So I start looking for all the lieutenants, and I remember going back outside, and I found a lieutenant, and I'm like, "What do you want us to do, sir?" And he's like, "I don't know about you, man, but I'm going to South Street Seaport." He says, "You could stay here." I go, "Keep in mind, my first year, anybody who had a uniform on and had more rank than me, I was like, yes sir, no sir, and shit." And this dude was just like, "I'm out of here." He was shocked. He was shell shocked. A lot of people were shell shocked, man. Cops, fire, everybody was shell shocked. So it wasn't a moment where you ran into somebody and they were like, they were just like, "Yes, I got this." Everybody was shell shocked. I was just trying to operate or do what my training was telling me to do. Keep working. So start looking for more people. We don't find anybody. Didn't find any body parts. I remember there was a lot of paper in the air. It's still raining down on us. And then I find the lieutenant. I'm like, "What do you want us to do, sir?" This other guy, he's like, "Listen, we're going to assemble over here." He points to somewhere in Broadway by J&R Music World, for those of you that remember that. I know, right? Dating myself. And so we assemble over by City Hall area. And there was a restaurant in that area. It's not there anymore. It's gone. But we assembled there, and we're waiting for further orders. And I remember he was talking to somebody over the radio. He's like, "We're not leaving, so let us know what you want us to do." And I was like, "A man with balls." I'm like, "Yeah, get some." So with that, guys, um, we're waiting for further orders. So now I'm looking for a mask. So I go into a hardware shop that was by J&R Music World, and I found a fireman's mask, but he had took the regulator out. So I looked for filters. I put the filters over the mask, and I duct taped it, and then I had a portable mask on my face. Uh, J&R was the best. Yeah. Don't get me started with J&R. But anyway, guys. Um, so I'm breathing through this mask now. Now I got something over my face. I'm waiting for the lieutenant to tell us further order. We're waiting around for things to happen, and nothing's going on. So I'm like, "Fuck this, I'm out." So I start walking around looking for other EMTs that I might know, see if I can help anybody. So I decided to go off on my own and see who I can help. And then I was also going to look for my father. With that being said, guys, um, I don't find him because he's still at Port Authority. So what they did with him is, well, because he was one of the older guys, they left him there. They left him directing traffic at the Lincoln Tunnel. So this whole time, I thought he was down there because he was down there in '93, but he never made his way down there. Thank God. So anyway, I go looking, don't find him. I run into a couple of EMTs, and we start just looking for someone to help because at this point there's no one to help. We even firemen, somebody. Now, um, with that, guys, the radio transmissions, that was the scary shit. So I'm gonna mention something on here. Um, the Marriott Hotel. The Marriott Hotel, there was a lot of radio transmission coming out of there. And when the first tower fell, I can hear guys on the radio stating they were trapped. And guys are trying to breach the wall in the Marriott Hotel. The wall breaching was on West Street, the highway, if you will, and they were trying to breach the wall to get the guys out of there. They were trapped in I guess, the ballroom area, and the ballroom was up against this real big concrete wall. But the concrete wall was like a foot and a half thick or something like that. Something to that effect. Um, with that, so with that, trying to remember. Okay, so with that, listen to the radio transmission. When the second tower fell, guys, that was it. It was fucking radio silence. You didn't hear any more fucking needing help, maydays. You didn't hear shit. And you can hear the maydays over the radio after the first tower fell. A lot of guys got trapped. I'm assuming underground. There was an underground level of the World Trade Center. It was like a plaza, if you will, underneath the Trade Center. Huge. Thousand store, not a thousand. There was a lot of stores under there. And I think guys got trapped under there. There were guys trapped in the Marriott. There were guys trapped in the rubble of the first building, of the first collapse. With that, once the second tower fell, it was radio silence. So anyway, milling around the rest of the day, sucking in that shit air, uh, just trying to find someone to help. And then come 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, sun started setting, and they had put spotlights up. So they put the spotlights up, and the eeriest thing in the fucking world happened. The eeriest thing in the world, guys, was when the spotlights went up, the shadows of the building were there. It was the craziest shit I've ever seen. I'm like, and I remember sitting next to another EMT and go, "Is this fucking for real?" And we both look and we're like, I'm like, that's crazy. That is the craziest shit I've ever seen. Both buildings are gone, but the shadows are there after they put the spotlights up. Just crazy shit. So, with that, guys, I go home. I go home. No one to help. Uh, Nothing more to do. I go back to now my ex-wife's place, and she opens the door and she's crying. Uh, my mother calls me. She was crying. My brother didn't know what to do because he's like, should I go down there and look for them? My mother's like, you better keep your fucking ass still, because my brother didn't know what was going on until about noon. He had slept, not most of the day, but he was up late doing something. Of course, he goes to sleep. He wakes up, and all this shit's going on. With that, he thought he was going to go down and look for us, and thank God he didn't, because it was just pandemonium. Yeah, so I go home, and when I go home, I'm on the train. My bike. Oh, by the way, so my bike, where I chained my bike up, I chained my bike up 1 block south of Fulton Street, and I go to get my bike, and every piece of plastic on my bike is completely melted. My tires are melted. My rain spoil splash guards are melted. My handle grips are melted. The cable, everything was melted, and I'm like, what the fuck? So I had to grab the bike, throw it on my shoulder, and walk it home. As I'm walking home, as I'm walking to the train station, I had to walk from there to Canal Street to catch the train. I get on the train, guys, and everybody is just doing their own thing, as if what was going on downtown didn't happen. All right. So I got off of 28th Street. I walk home, and I walk, where I used to live with my ex-wife on 28th Street. I walk there, and then I see people in a bar, and they're just hanging out, having a good time. They're watching baseball. I think it was baseball. It might have been baseball in another state. Definitely wasn't here. They were watching baseball. I remember looking at it going, motherfuckers. People are dead, dying, trapped, possibly burning, still burning alive. A slow burn, if you will. And the city was just acting like the shit wasn't happening. So I get home. The ex-wife opens the door. She's crying. She tells me, call my mother. My mother's crying. I'm like, I'm okay. I said, what about dad? She goes, dad's okay. And I go, all right. And with that, man, I knocked the fuck out. I got home, I knocked out. Um, and that was it. And that was pretty much it, guys. And then over the next few months, I continued to go down there, and help out as best as we could. But we were body recovery. EMS was body recovery. We weren't doing anything great. Firefighters, PD, we were all body recovery. We weren't looking for survivors at that point, even though they did find survivors in the Miracle Staircase. And then they found the guys, the two Port Authority cops that were trapped under the rubble. And then that was it. So, guys, with that, yes, I know a lot of you keep Kathleen Thompson. Do me a favor, get over it. Building 7 collapse. We know what the fuck it is. I know a lot of you guys are digging for conspiracy theories. Not tonight. We'll talk about the conspiracy theories of that another night. And I will lend my what I saw, which, yeah, I'll tell you exactly what I saw. But I'm gonna tell you something. Right, one thing about Building 7, I was there when it fell down. Um, it was a tad bit weird. That's all I'm gonna say about Building 7. Just a tad weird. Again, guys, for a lot of people who weren't there, you're going to conspiracy theory the shit out of this. Some people are gonna say there were no planes. I saw two. I saw one plane. It just didn't dawn on me that that plane hit the building, and I saw that plane from a distance. We're talking over 2 miles, and I could see that little speck fly behind the building. I saw the plane fly behind the building, and then it disappeared, and it didn't dawn on me that it hit the building. So none of that dawned on me until I got down there and I was told what was going on, and I was like, "What the fuck?" And I didn't know what was going on around the rest of the nation until I got into the basement of that building on Broadway, and they were watching it on TV, and they said, "Oh shit, I I heard about the Pentagon, and I heard about what you call it." Oh god, the hologram planes. It wasn't hologram. It wasn't hologram planes. I'm not going to get into it, guys. There were plane parts all over the place. Again, if you weren't there, don't sound like an idiot saying dumb shit like that. Just don't. You're gonna make yourself look bad, um, or stupid, whatever the fuck you want to say. But thank you, Social Dilemma. No conspiracy theories tonight. We will talk about that another night. I promise you. And I'll have my opinion on the matter when we talk about conspiracy theories. That is. But anyway, guys. With that, it was just it was interesting because here's the kicker, guys. Here's the kicker. Why am I telling the story now? Right? You know why I'm telling the story? Because keep in mind, there are a lot of us that are going to die from the shit we breathe in. Hands down. We're absolutely going to get cancer or some shit. Like, hands down. Yeah, yo. Please unsubscribe from me. I don't care. Do yourself a favor and unsubscribe from the channel if you're gonna be a dick. But here's the problem. This is why I'm talking about it, guys. Sorry. Why I'm talking about it. Because for every last one of us, guys, that are possibly going to die from some kind of cancer down the line, for those of us to sacrifice our health because we're still alive and we're dying from some shit, and sacrificed our health because I knew what we were getting into when I ran into that. My father was a what you call it, was a Port Authority cop, but he was a hazmat guy. So he told us about like, asbestos and all this other shit in the buildings. And he talked about the Trade Center a long time ago before they collapsed. He even had a video on the Trade Center being built. Sorry. With that being said, guys, um, we knew what we were getting ourselves into. We knew that we're going to suffer some shit down the line. Now, with that, guys, all of this never forget, and all of this, we'll never forget the men and the women who served us that day and who died. And yet, last year, or this year rather, you fire and kick people off a job for not taking some shit that didn't work. So for all of the never forget and respect for those who served us that day and who continue to serve us, you told us to fuck off because we didn't want to take some shit we didn't need and we didn't want. And for all of the guys I've watched die, and I've watched died later on from the dust and shit, from cancer and shit like that. None of their lives matter. Our shit don't matter. The guy that's fucking who's a lieutenant or captain right now who went through that shit that day as a cop or fireman, you're now telling them to go fuck themselves because they don't want to take some shit. It's that's the reason why I'm telling the story, right? And watching Bravest for Choice still do their thing and still talk about what's going on. And the city turned around and shitted on all of us like that. You shitted on the memory of those who fucking died because how many of those guys would have been like, I ain't taking that shit either? We are 1000%, guys, ready to put our shit on the line. We're ready to fucking die. It's what we do. We rather not die. Don't get me wrong. We rather not die. But if the Trade Center happened again, we would respond almost the same way. Be a little different, but we would respond knowing, fuck, we could die in this. We go into fires thinking, fuck, man, we could die. But that selfless act from the other guys was now being told, you can go fuck yourself because you don't want to do this one thing. If people are willing to sacrifice their life, but you fire them for not doing one thing, or you suspend them for a long period of time for not doing one thing, what does that say about the leadership running this fucking city right now? That's why I had to tell the story. Now, had none of this, what you call it, crap happened, this mandate crap happened, I probably wouldn't be talking about it. I'd probably let it go another couple of years. But being that, I watched them fucking shit on fucking city workers who are willing to give their lives, but turn around and tell those people, you're fired because we didn't want to do one thing. I would think risking our lives outweighs us not wanting to do that one thing. Jake, and you're right. It's people like Eric Adams, that piece of shit. Listen, I tell you right now, I would have no problem fucking punching that dude in the face. Zero. Because he is a piece of shit. You know what makes it worse with him is that he was a cop when this shit went down. He watched cops he probably knew die and some firemen he probably knew die. And that fucking piece of shit did what he did. Because he told everybody else, fuck them. We don't need them. Really? You don't need us? Yes, that's a fuck. If there was ever a politician, that's the one. Because he is just a meaningless bag of shit. Now, De Blasio is an asshole. He's just a dick, you know? De Blasio, sorry, just reading something. Blasio is a piece of shit, but he's not a city worker. He was never a hardworking dude any day in his life. All right? So for him to pass that and threaten us with it, whatever, he doesn't know any better. He doesn't live that life. But Eric Adams lived that life. He knows city workers. He knows how we operate. And yet he did that. So what does that say about him? Listen, guys, if he had ass cancer tomorrow, I'd fucking throw a party. That's what kind of piece of shit I think he is. And in fact, I know he's done some shit when he was a cop. And yet, I'm surprised it never resurfaced. And that's the bigger problem. A fucking bag of shit doing bag of shit things as a cop, then turning around and doing more bag of shit and getting away with it like he's the fucking supreme being or God's gift to fucking New York City. He's a piece of shit. He'll always be a piece of shit. There's nothing he can do right now that'll not make him a piece of shit. That's what I think about him. Yeah, well, listen. Yes, he's a crook. Exactly, guys. And Better Critter, yes, bought and paid for. But, guys, that was the whole point of the video was that, again, people will sacrifice their lives like that. But he got rid of us just for not doing that. Anne Marie, my father wasn't there. He wasn't there. He wound up staying at the Lincoln Tunnel. He was on call for a few days straight, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was 3 days. I think it was 2 or 3 days straight. He came home, cleaned up, went back out to work. And then he had to do like security and all this other bullshit at the Trade Center. So he worked it as well. He didn't go, he wasn't there that day, but he went there afterwards. And the amount of destruction, guys, that was there was unfucking real. I mean, you guys see it on TV. You had to be there. Yes, and so for those of you that are saying that were mentioning post-traumatic stress, yes, I had it. The crazy shit is, guys, the post-traumatic stress didn't rear its ugly head till about a year later. I thought I was fine. But apparently talking about it a lot and driving your partners crazy about talking about it a lot is part of post-traumatic stress. I didn't know that. But I remember a couple of things. I remember trying to get into the military and it rearing its ugly head. So I couldn't go in. And I remember being a fireman when I was in a probie in the academy. And I remember the PTSD rearing its ugly head. When I was in the academy, standing on the line, my palms are sweating. I'm getting nervous because the DI is yelling. And then I found out my trigger. My trigger was yelling and screaming. So once I found out what my trigger was, I was able to handle my PTSD a lot better. Now, I never recognized PTSD because I thought PTSD was only a military thing. And listen, rightfully so. For military guys and the shit they have to see and deal with, I never made that connection. But then I found out the nightmares, the dreams, the sweats, the fucking talking about it all the fucking time, driving my partner crazy. I'm 1,000% sure my partner wanted to open up the door and jump out of the vehicle when I was, because I just kept talking about it, you know? So anyway, with that, guys, once I got control of the PTSD, I was good. People can yell and scream till they're blue in the face. It doesn't bother me. It's just what it is. I was able to identify it and handle it. So, what's up with people tonight? Listen, guys, people are the inside job, the hologram plane. I knew that was going to happen. I have to take that shit with a grain of salt, right? Um, but yeah, listen, guys, I'm not going to run this any much longer. I just wanted to get that point across. And for those wondering, this video is going to be demonetized. So I'm not I'm not putting any commercials in this video, and I'm not putting commercials on it at all. If you do see a commercial, please fucking let me know. I will handle and get rid of it. Other than that, guys, I will be on Tuesday night with, come on, help me out here, Heroic Prepper. So I'll have Heroic Prepper on September 13th and Apartment Prepper on September 20th. I hope. Yes, that's exactly it. And somebody was asking me about Prepper Nurses One's little outing. I'm not going to be able to make it. I have something going on. I will explain what that is, but this takes precedence over that. It's a family issue, and I will explain what the issue is later this week. So I won't be able to make it, and that's just that. Anyway, guys, thank you for allowing me to share the story. Thank you for listening. Even you conspiracy theorists, thank you for listening, though I'm pretty sure you weren't. And other than that, guys, if Eric Adams is listening, go fuck yourself with a spiked dildo, man. Other than that, guys, see you later.